on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Generation, fast-paced nation, world population confront their frustration. The principles of true hip-hop have been forsaken. It's all contractual and about money-making. Pretend to be cats, don't seem to know their limitation. Exact replication and false representation. You want to be a man, then stand your own. To MC requires skills, I demand some show. I let the frauds keep...
I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm glad to have you tuned into our program in this hour today. It's been 2 great hours so far. And we are in our final hour, but two more great conversations to go. On the B side of this hour, conversation with the poet laureate of San Francisco, Tongo Eisen-Martin, about the emboldened neo-confederate wave of violence in this country. And we'll do a tribute to the renowned poet, Diane di Prima. There's a service, memorial in her honor coming up soon. And we'll do a tribute to Diane di Prima on the backside of this hour. We commenced this hour, though, with a chat with the Tony and Peabody award-winning co-founder of Def Poetry Jam. Jeff, say it again, Tavis. Def Poetry Jam. Third hour, right? Def Poetry Jam, and the founder of the Genius is Common movement. His name is Bruce George, and I'm honored to have Bruce George on this program. Bruce, how are you, sir?
You are blessed. Tavis, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing well. If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I am doing well, and I'm delighted to be in dialogue with you. Let me start with this. We all know Def Poetry Jam. I want to go back before I go forward. We all know Def Poetry Jam. We all know Russell Simmons. We all remember, his closing line every night. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless. Good night. we know
exactly.
that. We know all the great comedians that came across that stage, all the great hosts who hosted that show. To my mind, Def Poetry Jam is a part of our story. It's a part of our entertainment timeline, and many of us who of a certain age, track our lives by where we were when Def Poetry Jam sort of came on the stage, and we saw these persons who we had not known heretofore, and they're breaking down their work. How do you process Def Poetry Jam when you look back on it?
First and foremost, I'm going to answer that question, but I want to, first of all, thank the good Lord for blessing me to be here. Mm-hmm. Definitely want to thank Brother Derek Wilson, who connected me with your amazing producer, Johnny Dorset. I'm loyal like that, my brother.
I appreciate it.
And so in reference to, I appreciate you. In terms of thinking back, everything happens when it's supposed to happen. You know that, Tavis. Mm-hmm. In terms of the zeitgeist, right? The spirit of the time. And so when Def Poetry Jam, around that time, we caught the world in a very reflective state because remember, that was around the time of 9/11, post 9/11, right? And so we were able to catch the world in a very reflective state. And what better way to do that with the poet, right, or the artist? And so I was blessed to be one of the founders. I brought the concept to Danny Simmons, who brought it to Russell Simmons, who brought it to HBO. And we wound up getting a Peabody Award for 6 seasons on HBO, Tony Award for the Broadway version. I was the town executive at HBO and executive consultant to the Broadway show, and the rest, as they say, is history. Yeah. So everything I do, Tavis, is out of activism, right? You know, service is the rent you pay for being on earth. And let me just give you your flowers, my brother, because you paved the way in terms of politicizing us for the Ricky Smileys, the D.L. Hughley's, the Steve Harveys, and for them, and even the Roland Martins in terms of them being able to start having their own shows and really start interviewing people. So I definitely want to give you your kudos in reference to that.
No, I appreciate it, man.
And I have, absolutely, my bro. I have 3 legacies under my belt. One being, you've already mentioned, Def Poetry Jam, and then one is the Bandana Republic. I am the founder of the Bandana Republic. It's a literary anthology by gang members and their affiliates. Never been done before, Tavis. Poetry, prose, short stories, and quotes and interviews from gang members, gang leaders, and those affiliated. And then, of course, the Geniuses Common Movement, which I'm looking forward to unpacking.
No, we'll talk about that. Trust me. You mentioned a moment ago that Def Poetry Jam was created in a moment when the country was in a reflective state. When you compare then to now, how would you compare the reflective state that we are in or not in at this moment?
That's a very, very good question, because there's a movement afoot to not make us be reflective. And that's through distraction. You know that. Come on. So now what they're going to do, the elite media, because you already know that the elite media is the gatekeeper to the state, which is the gatekeeper to the ruling class. So it's all about TikTok. It's all about, what Agent 45 is doing. It's all about all of these different things, except for what's really happening. Yeah. Right? And what's really happening is that they are taking away our rights to our own bodies. Yeah. What's really happening is the fact that it is a movement afoot to take us back in terms of the whole situation with the education piece, trying to re-enslave us, recolonize us. I mean, all of these different things legislatively that's happening, and as a result of us not voting. Yeah. By us not voting, that's why you got all those conservative judges and Supreme Court judges, and so now we're feeling the brunt of that, right? Yeah. And so it's good. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I am processing as you're talking an answer to my own question about whether or not I think the nation is in the moment that we are living in a reflective state. I'm processing that myself. Do I think we are in a reflective state or reflexive state? That ain't the same thing. Are we in a reflective state or a reflexive state? We can debate that. Maybe we will when we come forward. I need to think about it. There was Def Comedy Jam. There was Def Poetry Jam. Both were iconic in their own right. But a couple more questions about Def Poetry Jam on HBO with Bruce George when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
I'm James Alexander, a proud member of AARP. 1967, I was 17. That spring, my friends, the Barcades, and I made Soulfinger. It was a hit. Number 3 on the charts. That summer, we became the great Otis Redding's band. First gig, the famed Apollo. That fall, we toured. That winter found me in a morgue identifying the bodies of my bandmates and Otis Redding. My music and their memories bring me joy. The Barcades forever.
What would you call a joy that is as solemn as it is sweet and knows no bounds? A joy that's beautifully rooted in soul and resilience. This is Black joy, a joy that reflects pride and honor despite every challenge. AARP believes the power of Black joy is limitless, and we celebrate this joy supreme. Join us in celebrating Black joy at aarp.org/blackcommunity.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. Visit jpmorganchase.com/racial equity and get the tools to help reach your financial goals.
Contracts, and grants. This is Rambo, and I'm back August 5th. Contracts, and grants. I'll be at the Westin Hotel, LAX, Saturday, August 5th. Me and my guests are fast-paced in the contracts and grants. They only speak 6 minutes each. I have LA County, I have the city. I even have Everett, the CEO of Lindustry, coming to talk to you guys. And for the first time ever, I have Metro's Director of Certification coming. We average over 700 attendees, so you know the rules. Parking's about $15 with the event validation, event, coffee, snacks, all free, paid for by Rambo Industry. And yes, you can bring guests. So save your seat, DeonRambo.com. Listen, contract ready's only 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12. But if you get there around 9:30, I'll probably be doing some Q&As and things like that before the events I never get a chance to do. I honestly keep saying, I don't know what's more important for LA businesses right now than local contracts. So I'm back, Westin Hotel, LAX, Saturday, August 5th. August 5th. It takes 2 minutes to register. DeonRambo.com. Go register now. DeonRambo.com.
Diane di Prima for KBLA Talk 1580. Are you worried about your credit score? Well, look, you can rebuild it. There are lots of factors that go into determining your credit score, but one of the most effective ways to improve your score is to consistently pay your bills on time, over time. If you're forgetful about payments like me, try automating your bill payments. That way all your creditors get paid on time and you'll have freed yourself of trying to remember. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives can help support you in reaching them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Our guest is Bruce George. In this first half hour, we'll talk to the poet laureate of San Francisco to close our program on the backside of this hour. But Bruce George is one of the co-founders of Def Poetry Jam on HBO, founder of the Genius is Common movement. We'll get to that in a few moments, I promise you. But Bruce was saying earlier, in case you just tuned in, that I was asking him to look back on Def Poetry Jam. As you all know, there was Def Comedy Jam, iconic in its own right. There was Def Poetry Jam, iconic in its own right, both amazing, both on HBO. And I was asking Bruce to take me back to how Def Poetry Jam came into existence. And he was saying that we were in a reflective state in our country at that moment. And here you have all this artistic genius, mostly black, coming on stage, expressing themselves in ways that we had never seen black folk express themselves on a stage, on a national platform like HBO. The question, Bruce, now is, in this moment, are we in a reflective state or reflexive state?
Both.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm going to tell you why it's both.
Yeah.
We're in a reflective state is because of the fact that we're in the age of the Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
People now are more aware than ever before. That's why they're trying to get rid of TikTok, because of the fact that the people have the power to upload their ideas and their ideology and their politic, right? But the reason why they didn't get rid of TikTok because they got voted out of office. The youth would have voted them out of office. You don't hear that chatter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's reflective in terms of the fact that people are becoming more conscious spiritually. People are meditating more. People are doing a lot of different things, getting into yoga, Reiki, you name it. And because it's the zeitgeist or the spirit of the time that the last should be first and the first should be last, right? Mm-hmm. And so the status quo is shook to death. Even with the whole monetary system, how the U.S. dollar right now is going through a transformation. The world is going through a transformation in terms of the so-called powers that be are losing power, and the power is with the people. And so, yes, it's reflective and reflexive. Good question.
Yeah. No, I take your point. Before I move on to Genius is Common, what do you think the legacy is of Def Poetry Jam? What do you think that program that you co-founded on HBO was able ultimately to accomplish in the culture?
Wow, that's another good question. First of all, I want to shout out Danny Simmons, Russell Simmons, Deborah Pointer, Stan Lathan, and all of the poets that were on the show that made it happen, and everybody that listened in and supported it. It was very iconic in the sense that around that time, again, we caught the world in a reflective state. and then we were able to feed them the truth. And the truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but in the end, there it is staring you right in your face. So the poet has always been the cajoler of history, or artist. The poet has always been the truth bearer, right? The Panther Party talked about the notion of all art is political, and art is an indispensable tool of revolutionary struggle.
Yeah.
So we caught the world at a time where they were like, you know what? We said, we're going to feed you this truth. That's why we were blessed to be able to have the type of impact that we had.
Yeah.
And it's still reverberating to now.
Yep. Yeah. My view is not dissimilar from yours, Bruce. I believe that artists are the gatekeepers of truth. That's my view, that artists are the gatekeepers of truth. Let me ask you right quick. If Def Poetry Jam were on HBO right now, like this week, what kind of content do you think we'd be getting today versus the content we got back in the day when it came on?
Well, if it was on today, it would still be iconoclastic. It would be still muckraking, because the poet has always been the cajoler of history. The poet has always been the truth bearer.
Yeah. Right?
So they're going to always speak truth to power. That's why Napoleon, when he came to power, the first thing he said is kill all the poets. Right?
Yep.
You know, and the only reason it's not on today is because of the fact that it was reverberating around the world. It was speaking truth to power. And I give HBO a lot of credit. Richard Pepler was the president at the time.
Sure.
They pushed the poetic license, right? But they reached their limit. They was like, you know what? We got advertisers. We got this. You know, so they got to keep it pushing.
Yep. What do you make of the nature? Let me rephrase that. What do you make of the fact that, to your point now, that art can be a disruptor? That art can be so disruptive that the powers that be who brought these things to bear will back away from that artistic expression because it can be, again, so disruptive?
Well, art has always been disruptive. You know, the most dangerous person on the earth is a writer. Most dangerous person on the earth is a poet. And and they know that because they bring the truth. They're the truth bearers. They're the flamethrowers. Art is like the Panthers Party said again, it's an indispensable tool of revolutionary struggle. Always have been and always will be. See, Tavis, we weren't given the luxury of art for the sake of art. Art for us has always been us being on the defense and always having to use our art as a means of survival, right, during the Middle Passage. So from hip-hop, where did hip-hop come from? Where did the blues come from? They all came from that same tree of struggle, the Negro spirituals. All of that is related.
Yeah.
That's where hip-hop and all of that come from, the jazz, the blues, all of that art was a reflection of who we are. Ozzie Davis said it best. He said, being an African-American, however, implies that something at the core of your existence is in crisis mode or will be at some point in life.
No.
Right? You can't retire from struggle. Come on now.
Nope, you can't retire from struggle. That's right. That quote from Ozzie Davis is a brilliant, brilliant quote, and I'm glad you reminded me of it. I hadn't heard it in a long time, and I'm glad you reminded me of that Ozzie Davis quote. I was just talking to my friend Kenny Leon, the Tony Award-winning director. Pearly Victorious is coming back to Broadway. You know, Pearly Victorious is coming to Broadway in September. That play, of course, written by the late, great Ozzie Davis. Pearly Victorious coming to Broadway in September, and I'm anxious to get back to New York to see this brilliant piece of work by Ozzie Davis that's going to be interpreted in this moment by the Tony winner, Kenny Leon. Let me one final thing, and we'll again pivot to Genius's comment. It occurred to me, and I hadn't actually really thought about this, Bruce, until you forced me to think about it, which is why I love this program. I say all the time, I always leave this studio smarter than I came in. I do this 3 hours every day. When I walk out, I'm always smarter when I leave than when I came in. And you're pushing me to think about something that I never processed before. I am thinking about all the years of television lore, all the years of television history. And it may very well be back to this point of art being disruptive, that black folk have never had access to a stage, to a platform that allowed them to tell more truth than they told on Def Poetry Jam. I never thought about it in that way, but if you go back and you think about the stuff these black folk were saying on that microphone, I don't know. In this moment, I could be wrong. My callers will let me know. Listeners will let me know. I can't think at the moment of a platform that allowed black folk more creative license to express themselves in ways that were unpopular than their poetry jam. Can you think of anything?
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. I'm going to tell you, Mumia Abu-Jamal said the best. He said the state would rather have a Uzi than a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I wrote a quote, and I said the state would rather have 1 million rappers talking about murder, 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 kill, 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 than have one poet talking about the day the CIA killed Lumumba.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you're absolutely correct with that. I mean, and that's why I really salute HBO for pushing the poetic license.
Yeah.
They took a big risk, and this was right around 9/11, where everybody was patriotic and red, black, red, white, and blue, and the whole nine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we filled them with that truth, and it was very successful for God's grace. They want the truth.
Yeah. I only met Richard Pepler.
Want the truth.
Yeah, they do. Indeed, they want the truth. They want it. I've only met Richard Pepler a couple of times. He and I were honored one night many years ago with the Du Bois Medal at Harvard. We were honored the same night, and I got a chance to tell him that night how much I appreciated his courage in putting a lot of good stuff on HBO back then. And to my mind, HBO has suffered given his absence from that platform, but that's just me.
It really has.
Yeah. He was very creative, man, in pushing stuff out on HBO that others wouldn't have done, and now they're sort of reining HBO in. But again, I digress on that point. Let's talk about Genius is Common, Bruce George. Talk to me about it.
Okay, well, the Genius is Common movement is an anti-elitist movement, right? We're the first movement, Tavis, to decolonize the word genius ever since its etymology. Right? It got started from one of my quotes. I'm a master quotologist, quoted around the world every nanosecond of every single day. I would go around the country and I would ask the youth, when you hear the word genius, what image comes to mind? And they would always say Einstein or a light bulb. And every now and then I would get a Jordan, and that troubled me. And I said, you know what? Let me write a quote about that. And the quote is, notwithstanding Einstein, genius is common. Then I turned into the slogan, genius is common, was turned into an entire movement. We have a presence in all 50 states, 18 countries with 46 ambassadors and growing. We're the first movement to decolonize the word genius ever since its etymology. So when they say you're only a genius if you have 130, 140 IQ when Mensa, it's pure nonsense, Tavis. That was an arbitrary number made up at Stanford University to make you 1% of the population, which is rooted in elitism. But they don't want you to know that the true origin of the word genius doesn't just apply to intellect. Even Einstein said we're all geniuses. And if you were to judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree or spin its whole life believing that is stupid. Buckminster Fuller said that every child is born a genius, but the process of life de-geniuses them. Arthur Schopenhauer said that talent hits a target that no one else can hit, but genius hits a target that no one else can see. So we're the first movement to let the world know that the true origin of the word genius comes from the word genie out of northern Africa. Not ancient Rome. And the genie is the guiding tutelary spirit within each of us. So the genius in us is the genie in us, and the genie in us is the God in us or the source energy in us. We've been lied to. Look at the word genie in Genesis. Genesis is the beginning. God is the Alpha and the what? Omega.
The beginning and the end. The first and the last.
Beginning, first and last. Look at the word genie in your genes. Your genes is your whole makeup of who you are. So the cat is out the bag and the jig is up. We're the first movement to take the elitism out of the word genius. That's where an anti-elitist movement. I would implore your audience to go to geniusiscommon.com, and I'm shouting out everybody in the Genius is Common movement, from my 42 ambassadors to the 94 celebrities that did Genius is Common video drops. Tavis, you know you have to do a video drop. Hey, Tavis Smiley, Genius is Common. You're in good hands. Antonio Fargas, Bill Duke, actor Malik Gilbert, that's my homie. He was the first one to do one. We got 94 celebrities that did video drops, right? And so we're on the cusp of breaking mainstream any day, hour, a month now, like Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movements, respectively. And they're dubbing my movement Black Wall Street Online. On our website, we have Black businesses, business directory, 2 online adult bookstores, a children's bookstore, all Black authors, all Black illustrators. Geniusiscommon.com is the website.
Yep. To your point, just got about 3 minutes left in this conversation right quick. To your point that we are all born geniuses and we have to redefine and reshape what that word means. I take your point. But if we're all born geniuses, what do you make then of the effort, particularly when it relates to Black people, to de-genius us as we navigate our way through life?
Because of the fact that that's what the status quo is supposed to do, is to try to de-genius us. They're doing their job. Right, the system isn't broke. If you think the system is broke, then you really off your rock or off your mark. No, the system is doing exactly what it's designed to do, is to keep us deaf, dumb, and blind. Right. But what's happening is that The real progressives, right? I like how you have unapologetically progressive. You have two forms of progression. One form of progression is to maintain the status quo. The other form of progression is to go against it. So history is always going to err on the side of doing the right thing. It's going to always err on the side of love over hate, right over wrong, right? You know, and that's where we are. Good will always outweigh evil. Love will always outweigh hate, right? So no matter what they do, we're going to continue to be here and progress and do what we need to do because we're covered.
As you talk to these young people, what is the most difficult part in getting them to accept, to acknowledge, to receive that they already have genius inside of them?
There was no difficult part whatsoever, my brother. They open up like a rose petal. Like a rose petal when I make them aware of the fact that every last one of them has a genius in them, a genius seed in them, right? They open up like a rose petal. No resistance whatsoever. The only resistance I get are from the elitists who don't believe that the word genius is common, right? You know, the elitists. So when they talk about you only, like I said earlier, you're only a genius if you have 130, 140 IQ. Pure nonsense. That was an arbitrary number made up at Stanford University to make you 1% of the population, which is rooted in elitism.
Here's my extra question. 60 seconds to go. My extra question is this. What happens to the world? How does the world change if we ever accept this notion that genius is common?
Well, people are going to continue to progress. They're going to continue to be muckraking, iconoclastic. They're going to really come into their truth, because I'm a firm believer that your work is your ministry. The amount of self-esteem we've already raised is through the roof, right? People are gonna take their power back. And you know what that happens when people take the power back? It's a wrap.
Yep, that's it. Genius is common.
I appreciate you, my bro.
No, man, appreciate you and the work you're doing. Your work and witness. Genius is common means that all of us have genius inside of us. Genius manifests itself through each of our own unique way of expressing our passion, our profession, our art, and our talent. GeniusIsCommon.com is the place to learn more about. Is that right? GeniusIsCommon.com or GeniusIsCommon.me? Which is it, Bruce?
Yeah, both.
Okay.
GeniusIsCommon.com and GeniusIsCommon.me. And I really appreciate you having me on your show, bro.
No, my great delight. All the best to you in this movement. You are a genius, brother Bruce. I appreciate you, man. All the best
so are you, my brother.
Thank you, man. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
What does access mean?
Access means owning a home. Access means growing my business.
Access means building generational wealth. No matter your goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Programs and initiatives provide the tools and resources to help you reach them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there, to appointments, chemo, or radiation, is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. Driving for a few hours of your day can make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Pennsylvania, jurors will begin deliberations today in the final penalty phase of the trial of the Pittsburgh synagogue shooter. Robert Bowers killed 11 people in a mass shooting in October of 2018 at the Tree of Life Synagogue. The prosecution and defense rested their cases Monday in the penalty phase, and now jurors will be tasked with deciding if Bowers will be put to death. In Massachusetts, NAACP delegates debated for more than 10 hours before approving a slate of priorities as the organization's national convention continued in Boston. The policies that will shape the agenda for the NAACP include seeking stricter gun control laws and removing racist education from U.S. schools. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
A sick alert is cleared in Monterey Park on the 10 westbound past New Avenue. Earlier wreck wrapping up on the shoulder was slowing from Baldwin Avenue. In Carson, 110 northbound at Torrance Boulevard, a crash blocking the left lane. Delays there from Pacific Coast Highway. And in Diamond Bar, working on a wreck on the 60 eastbound at Brea Canyon Road. 3 left lanes blocked there with slowing from Fullerton Road.
Discover credit cards do something pretty awesome. At the end of your first year, they automatically double all the cash back you've earned. That's right, everything you earned doubled. The cash back from trips, restaurants, all doubled. Seriously, though, see terms and check it out for yourself at discover.com/match.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are back in action tonight after an off day on Monday. They start a 3-game series at home against Oakland. Clippers backup forward Amir Coffey was arrested early Monday morning in Hollywood on suspicion of carrying a concealed weapon. Coffey was one of 2 passengers in a car. The driver was pulled over by LAPD for speeding. Coffey was booked for a misdemeanor and released. His court date is August 24th. Doc Rivers and Doris Burke are the new analysts for ESPN's #1 NBA broadcast team. Contracts for Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy were not renewed. Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin went through his first practice in full pads on Monday. 7 months ago, on January 2nd, he was fighting for his life after suffering a cardiac arrest in that Monday night game in Cincinnati. What a wonderful story. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Ew. Gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried new Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in 1 wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
Girl, I have a secret. When I get stressed out, I get sweaty. That's why I use Secret Clinical Antiperspirant. It's like my own secret weapon. For 72 hours, I get Secret's strongest protection against sweat caused by stress, heat, and activity, because you know how crazy life can get. Plus, it's made with advanced odor fighters that don't just cover up smelliness. They help prevent it from happening in the first place. Believe me, if I weren't wearing Secret, I'd be a hot, smelly mess. Thankfully, Secret works.
On a Mission Youth Travel presents the 2023 Morehouse Homecoming HBCU College Tour, October 25th through October 29th in Atlanta, Georgia. Open to high school students grades 9 through 12. For more information, please call 323-298-4779. Again, 323-298-4779. Students will tour Morehouse College, Spelman College, Clark Atlanta University, Alabama State, and Tuskegee University. Email info@onamissionyouthtravel.com. Again, info@onamissionyouthtravel.com. The HBCU tour price includes all meals, transportation, round-trip airfare with 1 checked bag, hotel accommodations, all museums, college tours, and admission to the Morehouse versus Kentucky State University homecoming football game. Spaces are filling up quickly, so call today to sign up. 323-298-4779. Again, 323-298-4779.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
We were just in conversation with Bruce George, who is the founder of the Genius is Common movement these days, but was a co-founder of Def Poetry Jam on HBO back in the day. We moved from that conversation to a dialogue right now with the current poet laureate of San Francisco, Tongo Eisen-Martin. Tongo, good to have you on this program. How are you today, sir?
Hey, great to be with you. I'm a little under the weather, man, but it's an honor to be with you.
Well, I'm glad to have you on, and I thank you for taking these few minutes to talk to us, given that you're under the weather. There are a few things I want to talk to you about, including, of course, the grand tribute this weekend in San Francisco at the historic Castro Theater to the late, great poet Diane di Prima. We'll talk about that in a moment. For those listening to this program in the San Francisco Bay Area, a great event this weekend, again, celebrating the life, legacy, the work and witness of Diane di Prima. We'll do that a little bit later in this dialogue. But again, since I was just talking to Bruce George about the impact of Def Poetry Jam all those years ago, I suspect that one of the things that a poet laureate of any city does, especially in San Francisco, is inspire others to consider and to support and to embrace the movement. Yes or no?
Yes, absolutely. Especially seeing that, what's crucial to movement work now is that kind of cultural project or the project of cultural transformation to get us to relate to each other, relate to ourselves in a way that's more conducive to resistance. Poetry is crucial.
Yep. One of the things that Bruce and I was just talking about, and I couldn't wait to get you on, Tongo, to get your take on this, because I know your take's going to be different than his or mine, and I'm anxious to hear it. He was saying that Def Poetry Jam came into existence back in the day, as he put it, because America was in a reflective moment. And I asked him to what extent he thinks America is now in a reflective moment. And as I was talking, I said, maybe not reflective, but reflexive. Is it either? Is it both? You tell me. So is America right now, when it comes to the way we can address these issues vis-a-vis our artistic expression, are we in a reflective moment or a reflexive moment?
I think all of the above, plus just kind of off the rails at this point. I think we see with the, just with capitalism basically operating in permanent crisis, with the kind of the terrible hegemony that's necessary for us to internalize. I'm sorry. There's a problem with my mother in the background. But in answer to the question, poetry, enters this equation in a crucial time, but it's still kind of beholden to the rules of organizing. And the need for organizations of uncompromising politics that are really appropriate to social contradictions to kind of lead the way. So you have, like, I think the stronger artistic movements of the past, were tied to heightening, organizing and growing militancy and growing sophistication in the way we unify. Yeah. So we're in this. I mean, we're always, in a society like this, or really in an empire like this, we're always at a precipice because it's really just an environment created by a monopoly of violence, and that trickles all throughout. Our social reality. So we're always against the wall and in trouble. But how we respond. We do well to kind of step up our organizing efforts along with, our kind of artistic integrity.
I want to interrogate this monopoly of violence that you referenced a moment ago. Let me just ask first, before I do that, if your precious mother is okay. We step aside for mothers around here in emergency. So if your mama ain't okay, we ain't got to move forward. But is your precious mother all right, number one?
She's okay. She's just, man, and she's getting up there and, just having some problems with balance, but she's good.
Yeah. Tell me, since you went there, and you're a poet, and this is all about expression, tell me about your mother. I'm just curious now.
Well, man, she was a veteran of the 1960s radical movements. Really took the gloves off and took on empire and really raised me with that political immune system that would, serve me well through this these kind of decades of relative low tide. I mean, we see movement coming back around now, but for a long time, to hold on to your principles and to try to produce some kind of political praxis that was worthy was extremely difficult. So, even when having a revolutionary mother was crucial, when the world kind of isn't playing along, with more radical consciousness.
Yeah. No, I can hear in your description of your mother that you got it honest. So whatever it is that allowed the city of San Francisco to choose you as its poet laureate, you got it honest from your mother, and we of course send all good wishes and prayers for your mother's well-being in the days ahead. Let me now interrogate this frame that you raised a moment ago. This monopoly of violence that we find ourselves in. Unpack that notion of a monopoly of violence in America right now.
Right. So, and really, this is all, lifted from greater minds than mine. But I think if you look at kind of the origin of the United States, and if we're really honest that, the origin of the United States is this invention of whiteness, and this whiteness, more than privilege, is really a deputization, because the creation of the United States itself is really just a successful attempt to secure slave operations. We know that the bulk of slavery began in the Caribbean, but it was untenable. These islands were powder kegs, and so these so-called founding parents, figured out that they could solve this problem, solve this equation with the expansion of space, and importing more Europeans to serve as this buffer class. And so it's important for us to keep in mind that violence and how it's really masterfully organized by this empire through the centuries is just as much a principal generator of reality, if not more, than profit and kind of individual creature gain.
Do you really believe that this monopoly of violence that you're talking about in America today is, as you put it, masterfully organized?
I do. Mm-hmm. I do. I do, and that. I mean, it's masterfully organized in that we are all walking around very, very inhibited. And though we might be inspired to move beyond that inhibition from time to time, for the most part, our consciousness is built around a conformity to the status quo, and violence, both surgical and, in mass is what keeps that boat afloat.
When you talk to a poet, you expect great lines, and I've had a few of them already. You've heard a few already. But when he says our consciousness is connected to conformity, that may be the line of the day. That too often, for too many of us, our consciousness is connected to conformity. I've had some great lines today. That may be the one that I'll hold on to for the rest of the day. What does it mean to have your consciousness connected to conformity? What can you do about that? I'll be wrestling with that the rest of the day. When we come forward, we'll continue our conversation with the poet laureate of the city of San Francisco, Tongo Eisen-Martin, on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go: shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms: irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
The Youth Forward organization calls for a cannabis candy ban for products they say target children. I'm Maisha Cairo with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. Mid-July, a coalition of groups committed to raising awareness about cannabis products that look like candy called on Governor Newsom to enact a cannabis candy ban. Youth Forward, an organization working to shape cannabis policy, is leading the charge with a petition to direct tax revenues from marijuana into youth and community reinvestment programs. The Cannabis Candy Child Safety Act, Assembly Bill 1207, passed the Assembly with a 61-0 vote in May. The bill aims to prevent children from consuming cannabis products by regulating packaging and advertising. It is currently under review in the Senate Appropriations Committee. KBLA listeners, what are your thoughts on this one? Let us know on our social platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Wendy's is open till midnight or later, so you can give in to the craving and go night mode. Now all of your favorite menu items just got their bedtime extended. You can get what you want even later, like the Baconator with 6 strips of bacon, or the perfect fries and Frosty Duo. If you're up later, then so are we. So go ahead and pull through the drive-thru. When the craving hits, go night mode at Wendy's. Open till midnight or later. All right, see ya later.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary.
She's so smooth, so... I'm interrupting my own shower to remind you to treat your skin like the queen she is with Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash, packed with Olay's highest level of vitamin B3 complex. It's so moisturizing that it will give you visibly smoother, head-turning skin in just 14 days. People wondering, how'd she get so smooth? Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash. Also, try Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Our guest is Tongo Eisen-Martin. He is the current poet laureate of the city of San Francisco. I wanted him on this program for 2 reasons today specifically. Number one, as I said earlier, I believe that artists are the gatekeepers of truth. Artists are the gatekeepers of truth in our society. I am always delighted to be in conversation with artists, whether they be music artists, writers, sculptors. If they're artists, there's a good chance I'll want to talk to them because I love being in dialogue with artists because, again, I believe their work and witness keeps that gateway open to whatever truth we can be exposed to in this place called America. That's number one. Number two, there's an event this weekend in San Francisco. So for those who are now listening to this nationally syndicated program, if you're listening in San Francisco, then there's a great program this weekend at the Castro Theater honoring the life and legacy, the work and witness of Diane di Prima. This radio show is flagshipped in L.A. I'm in Leimert Park right now. And we are heard in L.A. on KBLA Talk 1580, my home station. I have the honor in L.A. every day of following Dominique di Prima. Dominique di Prima is the daughter of Diane di Prima and the great poet Amiri Baraka. Talk about coming from good stock. When your daddy is Amiri Baraka and your mama is Diane di Prima, you can't help but be creative in a variety of ways. So Dominique comes from great stock, and we were saddened when she lost her mother during COVID. And there was not the opportunity to celebrate the work of Diane di Prima in the way that it should have been celebrated. A huge piece in the New York Times when she passed away about her contribution to the arts. So I celebrated the New York Times piece that some of you may have read and seen about Diane di Prima, this great poet who was the San Francisco Poet Laureate herself at one point in her life. And so I'm not going to say you trying to fill big shoes, Tongo, but what say you about the legacy, the artistic legacy of Diane di Prima?
Man, absolutely impossible shoes to fill. I mean, Diane di Prima is just one of those rare minds that really sit at the crossroads of various modes of humanization, whether it's spiritual, political, or artistic. She really is in this kind of pocket that only her, a couple other artists, and the Prophet, really engaged, man. So I mean, it's an honor to be just one of the many people celebrating her this Sunday.
Yep. That celebration will be August the 6th, this weekend, Sunday, at the historic San Francisco's Castro Theater. So, again, that's this Sunday, August the 6th, for those of you in the Bay Area, those who want to travel to the Bay Area to celebrate the life and legacy of Diane di Prima. Once again, this Sunday, August 6th, at the historic Castro Theater in San Francisco, a celebration of the life of Diane di Prima. When we come forward in our remaining moments with the current Poet Laureate of San Francisco, Tongo Eisen-Martin, he's going to share one of his pieces with us. What a great way to close today's show. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
MC Light for AARP. Hip hop, the cultural phenomenon that took New York by storm in 1973, is celebrating 50 years of rocking mics and crowds. Whether you're a ride or die hip hop head or simply curious about its origins, check out the latest issue of AARP the magazine. It celebrates this incredible milestone with a featured story brimming with fun hip-hop facts and history. Head over to aarp.org/Black Community to learn more.
Community is more than where you live. It's the people in it who go above and beyond to help it thrive. During the 50th anniversary of hip-hop and the 75th anniversary of Black radio, AARP recognizes the members, volunteers, people, and partners giving back to our communities. We believe when our efforts drive change for the greater good, we all thrive together. To learn more about how AARP supports efforts to keep our communities thriving, visit aarp.org/Black Community.
Can you believe it's already back to school season? To get you ready, Chase is hosting a family event at its Crenshaw Community Center branch on Wednesday, August 2nd from 4 to 8 p.m. Chase will be giving away backpacks full of school supplies and other goodies to the first 1,000 attendees. There will be activities for the whole family to enjoy. Chase community managers will host financial health workshops for parents and kids to learn about the importance of budgeting and smart spending when preparing for back to school. Plus, there will also be lawn games and crafts for all ages. Visit chase.com/student banking to learn about Chase's family banking solutions. We hope to see you at Chase's back to school event at its Crenshaw Community Center branch on Wednesday, August 2nd. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. Member FDIC.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
What make you?
Yeah. The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
Okay, you can't have the current Poet Laureate of San Francisco on without asking him to read a piece, to share a piece with us. Again, he is in the seat that was once held by Diane di Prima, the late San Francisco Poet Laureate, who will be honored this weekend, August the 6th, Sunday, at an event in San Fran at the historic Castro Theater. That said, Tongo Eisen-Martin, tell me what you're going to share with us, and we got 3 minutes to let you do your thing, brother.
Right on. There's a poem called Third in the World. These societies wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen testaments bent on offing me A nation of breadwinners to hold me back like it's a Brinks. I wrinkle the concrete sometimes like flesh. My Martin Luther King permanence turned away from a podium into the reeds like God is a dangerous twin. Black August to the mountaintop balcony on my bedroom floor. You know they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their foolish euphoria. From the loyalty out to their grave superstition. Loyalty out to their agrarian reform, I return to my mother completely disrespected. For peeling the heat off of purgatory, they kill poets like me. Walk me away from my poems, never to be heard from again. In this foul industrial complex of bloodlines picked over, picked through a sporting spiritual death that your devil at least half made. Police become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves, teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century in the mirror, people. Tyranny against your chump turns your chump to be mocked even with a gun in your car. A cubit of needlework spelled tuned for the portier at the relapse ministry. Talented people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond dime. Just another service day in the theatrics of tea house fascism, in the bouquet of surveillance cameras, in the poverty of God. New blue eyes, courses of water, a newly potted presidency of one big shiny corny desk and animated capitalism, another non-literal boys killing his white freedom. The deification of hyphens, medicine bread and picture shows, great protesters in L.A., guests of our ink, drop-kicking roses in the graveyard, D.C. make like a stone torn in half to pen advances. Despite CIA guideposts, despite non-African past and futures, a metaphorical but not surreal day in a horn-ridden life, horn player, improvising king, like a radio prize fight featuring Shango himself, a real hand sweeps the land of racism. May I return to the ground? May I make progress with the gun on our mother Emmanuel they put on music that evening? A swinging-type body language for you to drink with fermented $5 bills. For your body language, some applause, my past stomach lining. Neither a good thing nor a bad thing, like being psychic on the way to a lethal injection. It'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day leading youth who surrendered their souls to Africa too soon. Poly thought floating in the cup of water she saved me. Accessing my stomach, accessing the love of the American lynched. Cold sleeves with an avalanche into the wrist. Our mother Emmanuel. Avalanche into the sharp keys. Pain. The deal you make with pain. A piano makes sense for them. Laying hands on the world gradually. Addressing the bending necks on the streets of the north. Travelers sailing in pain, repeating pain in the north. 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony would have me. Putting 100 fights on every direction, offered her Lady Day, leaning on trees again, recruiting the countryside itself, saying, lay your plan out on this lightning. Make your poems a corner pocket of men. I've greeted the blues itself. America may clean my dead body, but will never include me. There goes the poet. Killing without killing. Never mind this little tainting of your language. May I be a meaningful lynching. A crow's passing. Good and dead by the afternoon.
He's Tongo Eisen-Martin. He's the poet laureate of San Francisco. Tongo, thanks for sharing that piece. Hope you feel better. Thanks for talking to us, even though you're under the weather, and sharing that piece with us, and all the best to your precious mother, man. We're pulling and praying for both of you. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you so much, brother.
Good to have you on this program. That's our program for today. Back tomorrow to do it all over again. Thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Glad to have you on board on the Black Information Network here on the first day of August. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest. The start of August means bills passed by the Louisiana State Legislature go into effect. One increases